The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM.
Ya hala, ya hala, ya hala, ya hala, ya hala, ya hala, ya hala.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum everyone, and you're listening to Sisters Speak on Inspire 105.1 FM, and you're here with me, Faiza.
Me, Amina.
And me, Mariam.
And we have not been live on air for a long time, so if we are rusty today again, please forgive us. But yeah, assalamu alaikum everyone, hope you're all well and good. And today we are going to be discussing identity, and this will be in terms of the multiple identities that we all have. For example, we have our cultural identity, our Islamic identity, you know, we have the kind of identity that we have when we're in the workplace, and like we have the identity that we have when we're with our friends. You know, we have different types of identities or personalities when in different situations. So before we get into that, Mariam, do you want to explain what our show is about?
So our show is a platform for Muslim girls to voice their own opinions on current events and issues, and even from discussions on general topics such as religion, culture, politics. We want to note that all opinions and views are our own, and we respect all other or opposing views.
Thank you for that. And also, if anyone would like to get into contact and join in on our discussion, give any advice as well as to what we will be discussing and what we are discussing, then please do that. How can they do that? Sorry, Amina?
You can text or WhatsApp us in on 07779 481822. You can also call on 01582 481822, and we are on Facebook Live.
Live
video. You can hear us. You can comment under the video.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts. So before we get into that, before we get into our main topic of identity, we have our little segment, which is Thought for the Week. So this is just something we want to share, some advice that might be useful for ourselves first and foremost, and then our listeners, and also the listeners as well. Please do join in if there is something beneficial that maybe you want to learn. That you've learnt, or maybe you just want to rant or anything. You know, we're all ears. Let us know. So who would like to go first? Mariam.
So my thought of the week is it's quite a personal one. I've been thinking about university because I've had a year off. So just transitioning back from work to studying, it's kind of giving me quite a lot of anxiety because, again, I have to make new friends and kind of find my own routine, because when I first started university, I struggled a lot because I didn't do the particular A-level. So I studied English literature. I didn't do my English A-level. So it was jumping from my GCSEs to a degree level, and I found myself comparing myself to other people in my class because it was so easy for them. It was almost effortless for them. And basic things that they knew was something that I had to go out of my way to learn. So again, I'm just kind of feeling that type of anxiety because I have to read about 80 books.
Wow. 80 books.
Yeah, in 2 semesters, but and I haven't read one book since then. So I think it's just dismantling those anxiety and thinking, where's it rooting from? You know, if I start preparing for it and taking one step at a time, I think I should be fine. And I think organization, because obviously this is my final year as well, so it's also that anxiety of finishing, and I think I'm thinking way too ahead, but it's only 6 months left of my whole entire education in perspective. Of course, if I go to further education, that's another thing, but it's something that you work towards from GCSEs right until you finish that last day of your degree. So for me, it's just
like you've got this. It's your last stretch now.
Yeah, it's just pushing the hardest stretch.
Of course, it's going to be anxiety, but will graduation day will come before you even know it, inshallah, and then honestly, you will feel so happy and relieved. Just focus on getting the degree instead of the other bits of I have to, the making friends thing. This is your final year. Nothing's more important than the books, the 80 books that you need to read.
The thing is with me is I like to have Because obviously when you're studying so intensely, it's really good to have friends that are
Yeah, of
also
course. And sharing notes. and stuff like that.
people that are actually very grounded and work hard as well, because I don't want to be with
You,
I don't want to
you
be in a
kind of get
group.
motivated as well.
Yeah, it's motivation. It's not motivation. But for me personally, I need to be friends with people in my class. So in case I don't understand something and they are hard workers, then we can share notes.
Yeah.
And I find it really, I struggle if I don't have that.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of figuring that out. But at the same time, I think because I've done 2 years of the degree, I should be able to. I have alhamdulillah, I've built very good relationships with my lecturers, so they understand my needs and they know that I stress about everything. So they know that I'll keep coming for them, especially it's my final year, and I know there's so many resources available. It's just taking that first step, kind of figuring out, okay, I have 4 modules to do in semester A, and doing the reading and the preparation for that. And also there's something else, I don't know, I hope I can get your advice on this, Faisal, because you've graduated. It's how, okay, I don't want to sound not nice, that's the way to put it, but I work really, really hard, and I want to get a good grade, and there's people around me who don't work as hard, and okay, that's completely up to them, right? But if they want to be, okay, I'm actually asking for advice. If they want to be partners with me, how do I politely ask them, like, I want to know their grades, because I don't even know, like, I don't want them to be my work off me. Do you get it? Thrive off me, because if they're not going to put the weight on, because something I experienced last year is a person, she convinced me that she would work really hard, and then she pulled my grade down completely, and I was so shattered because I worked so hard day and night to get to where I am, and then when someone pulls me down, it's just it's unbearable for me. So how do I
maybe ask them, like, I don't know, like in the, like, what are your predicted grade?
Because what if they say I don't know,
year?
and then they don't, it's like
Or what do you think you're going to get
because
as your result for your degree?
Yeah, because the thing is,
Or what are you aiming for?
yeah,
Say that, and then I think maybe you can grasp from it.
yeah, that's
Or even
something-
ask them for a piece of their work and exchange notes, or
I would never
exchange
send my
pieces
work
of
to
work.
anyone.
Exchange pieces of work that you've already done,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
already been marked, and see,
That's
like,
true.
you know, because then you can kind of get ideas off each other as well.
Yeah, because I really don't. To be honest, at the end of the day, I'm never going to see those people again, and I should take priority of. I don't want to be seeing someone who's really pretentious and stuck up, and they just think they're so intelligent, blah blah blah. No, it's if you work hard, and I want them to work hard, but I wanted them to be in the same level as me, so then I don't have to feel like scared that I'll be pulled down, and I won't feel responsible pulling someone else's down. Do you get it? I want to be in an equal way, and I think final year is that year that you
Definitely, you
have
need
to be very
buckle down.
strategic. You have to be very strategic, because my degree is quite heavily based on group work, so that's why that's why I'm like that anxiety is coming from, because you know a lot of my percentage will come from that, and if they pull me down, and then in my final year, and because so in the first 2
Maybe
years,
speak to your lecturers as well.
yeah, I think that's true. That's actually a very good advice. I'll ask my lecturers,
Yeah,
who do you think, because they know my personality, and so they will be able to
Yeah.
vouch.
fair enough.
That's quite good advice. I think the main thing that's not really a rant. Main thing is, if anyone's in my boat, same boat as me, is when you have sort of anxieties towards a new thing or something, just dismantle it and
And
see.
you kind of overthink everything,
Yeah,
but
you
maybe take
overthink
it one step at a time. Like, what are you actually
Yeah.
overthinking? Do it, like, break it down completely to the core, and then just take it one step at a time.
Definitely. I think just dismantling it, rooting it out, as you
Yeah.
said, and seeking help. I think a lot of things can be solved by just seeking help.
Definitely. Amina, your thought for the week?
My thought of the week is about change, and
okay.
that, it's sometimes when like your life is suddenly become a bit different, it can be really difficult, and you might start comparing yourself to another person's path who looks a bit similar, or you might think, oh, if this didn't happen, then like
This wouldn't have happened, and then I wouldn't be in this position.
I wouldn't be in this situation, But I think we need to, when anything big happens in our life and we're not handling it well,
Yeah.
I think it's a sign for us to step back and be like, hey, you know what, this actually needed to happen, and this is just life. I think as you grow up, you realize a lot of things do change in your environment, and a lot of things happen, and you just have to keep going, and things are going to be different, and it's fine.
It's just adjusting to that.
Yeah, you just
change.
need to adjust to your maybe it's like a new environment, maybe you've moved house, maybe, you know, something has changed, right? You need to just be like, okay, this is how it is now. You can't possibly go back from this because it's such a big life change. So I think we just have to learn to accept things. I think for some people it's harder than others. And also just, you know, if you're finding it difficult, it's still, even though you can't do anything about it, it's still important to let it out.
Definitely.
You know, like it's something that maybe you wanted to plan something, right? And it didn't go to plan at all, and it's really upsetting you. You know you can't do anything about it, but you know when you have those thoughts in your head and it's just eating you up, you literally just need to spill it all out of your mouth to somebody, and like just be like, can you listen to me? I don't need your advice. I just need you to listen to me. And then be like, yeah, okay, great. And you're like, yeah, good. I feel better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think we put pressure on ourselves to just handle our emotions because it's like, you know what, this is my emotion, this is my head. I don't want to burden someone. But what you don't realize is that a lot of people around you want to help you out, and if you're keeping that in, they'll notice anyway because you're keeping it in. You're probably going to feel worse. But yeah, there's kind of a mishmash of thoughts.
No, but it's just more of like accepting the change and like kind of getting through it, because it can be overwhelming as well.
Yeah, and have someone to talk to about it, because it is, I mean, we all handle change differently, but if you're not adjusting to it, there's always someone around you who can help you, and maybe there's someone who's going through this change with you. I mean, we're all, or someone who's experienced the same thing. It's just important that we all know that we can talk to each other, and that, or maybe when you talk to that person, they know that they can talk to you when they're going through something as well.
Definitely.
That's my thought of the week.
I think it interlinks with mine, really, is that change, isn't it? I think
adjusting to
the change. It is all about organisation, and for me it's all about organisation and dismantling it and talking to someone. I think a lot of problems can be solved by talking to someone, to be honest.
Yeah, true.
That's why we have each other.
Yes. And listening as well.
Group hug, guys. Yay.
On air.
My thought of the week. What is my thought of the week?
Listening to us.
No, I think mine was just it. Well, I don't know. Maybe as a result of your lot's thought of the week, it's just self-care. Taking care of yourself. You know, having a break. You know, everything can get hectic every now and then. You know, you can feel overwhelmed, whether it be with work, with school, family, everything like that. But you know, I think it's very important that you should take time out for yourself, whether it be a couple of hours, couple of minutes won't be like that. That's not enough. You need to take a good few hours out for yourself. You know, get some fresh air by yourself. Like, you know, self-care by yourself, whether it be, I don't know, going for a walk, go and have a massage, or you know, just take a few moments to yourself. I feel like having a lot going on all at once, like every single day you're occupied with something, you don't have that chance to breathe. And when you do, it's right before you go to sleep. And even then, you still seem to be kind of overwhelmed and your brain still seems to be working.
And that's when you find you can't sleep anymore.
Exactly. And then it's just like scroll on your phone. But self-care is important, whether it be catching up on your sleep, whether it be, you know, having a stay at home all day kind of lazy day even. Like, I'm sure everyone enjoyed this bank holiday weekend, you know, because, you know, you get that little break off work. But even at the same time, it's like catching up on things that you are doing while you catching up on things that you are doing what
I think you're trying to say,
I can't say it.
Catching up on the things that you couldn't do throughout the week.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't speak today. It's been a long day. But yeah, catching up with those things that you can't do during the week. So even then, you know, you need to take a break, like take time out, you know, just stop doing what you're doing, you know, get off your phone, get off whatever, and just relax, just take a moment to breathe. You know, I feel like you kind of overrun yourself and you kind of go into overdrive when you're constantly working, or like one thing after the other. Like, you know, you can only take so much, and it's very important that you don't kind of overload yourself thinking that, yes, I can do this and I can do this and I can do this, because sometimes you just can't. Like, your body just can't take it, even though you think you can. And it's that getting that rest is so important. Like, even mentally as well, like, you'll feel more refreshed. You'll feel like you'll have a more clearer, like, perception on things as well. Because sometimes when you're just in overdrive, that's all you're thinking of is, now I have to do this, now I have to do this. Like, rush. But it's like, take that moment, take that time, have your breather, and then, you know, carry on with life. Self-care is important, and it's I feel like it's kind of not seen as
something that's necessary.
I think when you were saying that, the person that comes to mind is our mothers. I think our mothers are the ones that
need a break.
They need a break and they need self-care, and I think we should encourage that in some sort of way.
Like, you know, let me do this. You just go to bed.
Yeah,
stay in your
literally.
bed, stay in your room,
Take a nap.
anywhere.
I know you haven't been sleeping.
Like, literally, like, just, you know.
Or even just encourage them by telling them to go out,
Yeah.
you know, treat them. Or even if they
Or
don't.
even go out with them.
Going out with
Yeah.
them, I was going to say that. Going
Unless
out
they
with
want a
them.
break from you.
Yeah, and that's,
then
you know
you
what,
know
I'm
you're the
sick of you,
problem.
let me go by myself.
Exactly.
First offer them, do you wanna go, I'll send you for dinner. And if they want to go by themselves, then let them. But, you know, it's just a bit of time out, because they work and they come home, they do all the housework, and then they go to sleep. And I think that is actually quite very, very exhausting. Like, I can't imagine having a full day of work and then coming home and doing everything. Like, that's just, I think we need to be able to see that our parents are humans.
And it's honestly, it's draining.
Our parents are humans too.
Yeah. Like, it's crazy how much, you know, that they do for us.
Yeah.
And, you know, it shouldn't go unnoticed. Give them
Yeah.
a break.
Even if they don't do self-care, give them something that will allow them to do self-care. You know, give them a gift or give them something that will
Yeah.
make them happy.
Definitely. Moving on, our hot topic. I picked our hot topic as, you know, back to school, back to college, back to university, starting university advice. Just something brief and small before we can go on to our main topic, which is identity. So the reason why I want to touch base on this topic is because it is basically the end of summer. I mean, surely everyone just saw the huge hailstorm that just happened before, even though it was like so hot.
We're all sweltering and
literally, honestly dying.
dragging ourselves to the mic.
But now it's like, it's the end of summer. Come on, like, August is finished. Or like, it's the 27th today.
August is the Sunday of the year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my God.
That's really
Yeah, I don't know what's going on in your mind there, but it's a little bit.
Bit of wisdom, just chucked it in there.
But it's really crazy how this year has flown
flown.
by. Yeah, it's like almost 2019 is over.
Yeah.
2020 is just out our door. So.
Now, children, you're going back to school. Thank goodness. I'm joking.
That's literally how everyone feels in my house right now.
Literally, like, they need to go
Need
now.
to go into
Like,
school.
just stay there. Oh my God. So, children going back to school, whether it be anyone else starting university, starting a new job, whether it be starting college, now it's time, you know, to get back into that kind of
Get back
routine.
into the swing
Yeah.
of things.
get back into your routine of waking up early in the morning instead of like 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, wake up early, get your routine back to normal, get your sleeping pattern back in check, start getting your stationery.
Do you know, I feel like at uni that going for a stationery shop, doesn't it?
It's
It's
the
not
best
a thing. Would you say it's a thing?
But barely
It's
have-
a thing.
I have a pen now.
Just
I'll be
yeah,
like,
oh my
that's all
God!
I
It's
need.
literally just you just need a pen for uni, and even then, some people come to lectures without a pen. I'm just like, I only have one pen.
That may be your advice. My advice is to have, you know, your folders, you know,
Do you know
all
what? Get
organised in your modules.
Get all your highlighters together.
Highlighters
Yeah.
are so important.
There's some nice ones. Like if you want to be excited,
And-
get those pastel coloured ones. I don't have them, but they look
Wow.
pretty. I mean, that's nice.
And then when
Even
you
the
see-
tags. The tags
Yeah.
for books are so important.
They're
If
really,
anyone
really
studied
important.
law like I did,
Or
honestly,
literature.
those tags are your lifesavers in exams. Okay? So get them.
I think one thing is as well, like once you've done a lecture and that week, just quick. I know everyone says it, but actually just have a look back at it, have a glance, back away, or even if you just before the next lecture, because
always go over notes.
you go over notes and make notes. What I do is I do the notes in lecture, so the ones that like really scribbly, that's how to describe it, and then I write them neatly. So when I do have exams, I have a neat version that I can like highlight, edit, and understand. Because otherwise, because when you write in the moment, you write spontaneously. It's quite fresh in your head, so you're able to remember what you wrote.
Yeah, definitely.
Even if it's like a bit messy. But if you look at that 6 months later, it
won't make any sense.
It won't make any sense. So that's why it's really important to rewrite your notes in a neat version. Unless you have neat handwriting, then you don't need to go through that.
But
at the same time, that it helps you to establish those concepts in your head. So you're rewriting things that you've learned, and so it's one way you're having neat notes, and another way you're going over and you're summarizing.
So it's like a refresher in your brain.
Your notes,
Yeah. I think. Well, first and foremost as well, congratulations to everyone who has gotten into university and into college, and
who's just done their GCSEs.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well done. Your parents are so proud of you.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's now the next step, and then like this is like you're growing up and you're moving up on in life, and things are starting to get serious now. GCSEs are over. College, these are very important, that you choose things that you enjoy. Don't pick things just because you're kind of being told, you need to go down this route. It's very important that you choose subjects that you enjoy, and that that it's something that you'll look forward to learning. I mean, come on, would you imagine studying something you don't want to study
just because you think that like this is a good career?
Yeah.
But I also wanted to mention that if you're choosing like A levels or something to do at college, I think what I found after college is that your route to university isn't just one route. It's not just, here's your A levels, go to university. There's so many different routes.
Yeah.
I know some people who have got like
apprenticeships.
Yeah, apprenticeships.
Which are like so good nowadays.
And, even if you do want to go to university and you feel like you've not done well in your GCSEs or
university is not for everyone.
But even if you want to, but you haven't done well, I feel like there's still so many different ways to get there.
Clearing is still open for most universities.
Yeah. And there's not just one certain way or like certain subjects that are like, these are the good subjects, and these are like the ones that are not that great. You don't want to look at those. But sometimes, if you want to take a certain route that's not all your friends are taking, or you think this is more suited to you, like BTECs, for example, I feel like that's really looked down upon. Like we've all seen the memes, right? But I feel like a lot of people get into university with BTECs and they seem quite good. Like if this thing works for you, if you think that suits you, you should just go for it. And like you said, if you're not into university, but that's all everyone wants to do, and you're not much of an academic, and there's so many other things.
Like apprenticeships are so good for those people who prefer the practical side of things, and there are so many good apprenticeships with like really big companies as well, that all it takes is research. That's all you need. Like I know sometimes in certain colleges and stuff it's very limited, and they kind of just, I don't know, it depends on which college, but in my personal experience I think, and I know a lot of other people agree as well, they didn't really give us much advice.
They made it seem like there's only one path to university.
And like it was only uni, nothing else.
Exactly, and that's the only way to get a job.
But it's not. It's like you can go so much further in life aside from university as well. It's not for everyone, honestly. Like from when I was in my first year of university as well, we had so many people drop out because it's just something they couldn't hack. It's a lot of, being independent study. And from going from GCSEs to college, where you were kind of taught, this is what you need to do now, this is what you need to do now. This is like, you're being kind of told at every single stage, to going to university where you're just, here's the lecture, okay, that's it. Now, what you decide to do next is like your choice. So I feel like it's just important that you pick the path that is right for you. You choose the subjects that you think you're going to enjoy, not to please so and so in your family, or because your family like are pushing you, because culturally as well, there are the desired routes of being a doctor and an engineer and so on. But like, if it's something you enjoy and it's something you want to pursue, then go for it. You know?
Yeah, you can't do something that you don't enjoy. I mean, you're not gonna.
I feel like you won't perform well.
Yeah.
Because it's something you're being forced to do. And remember, like, especially with college, it's 2 years, and these 2 years are very crucial.
Very intense.
Yeah. So, like, just be careful in terms of what you take on and how much you decide to take on as well.
Yeah, because you have to work really hard for it, and if you're working so hard for something that you don't even like, then
yeah,
that's
it's a
really
waste
difficult.
of time.
You want to work hard for something that you love.
You enjoy, because it drives you even more. It motivates you to do better as well. And even those in the final year, year 11 as well, like, you know, your GCSEs, like, it's important, you know.
It's extremely important.
Don't just think, oh, they're just GCSEs, like, kind of push it to the side. Like, study hard, you know, and from this you will kind of see what kind of path you want to go down as well, because it gives you the idea that you can see your stronger subjects and your weaker subjects, and it helps you to kind of establish where you want to be as well, and then helps you choose what courses you want to do at A level and BTEC as well. But yeah, join us after the break in a couple of minutes where we will be discussing identity, inshallah. Thank you so much for joining us in our first half.
You're listening to an Inspire FM podcast, making available our popular programs from our daily broadcast on Inspire FM.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome back to Sisters Speak on Inspire 105.1 FM. And you just are now joining us after the break. We are now discussing our main topic, which is identity. And just before the break, we were just doing our little hot topic and our thought for the week segment. Now, to get involved, please do text or WhatsApp us on 07779 481822. You can call into the studio on 01582 481822, or you can join us on our Facebook live stream and comment down below. And I think we do have someone who has commented, Sammy Sam. He or she said, education is never a waste of one's time. Jobs are always going to be around. Which relates back to what we were just speaking about just before the break in terms of going forward with uni, college and GCSEs. So thank you for your thought and opinion. Sorry, just getting a bit in the zone there, guys. Moving on to today's topic is identity, and the reason why we chose this is because there are a lot of different identities we have, and it's just why do we have this, you know? No?
Getting a bit
Everyone's just like
philosophical
really
in here.
Why do we have different identities?
Okay, wait.
Because
The first question,
let me answer the question.
The first question is, what is identity?
Identity is who you are.
Is it
Yes.
really?
See, you asked.
Right. What's your answer?
You asked. We delivered. It's who you are.
But what about who you are? Like, what
the
is it?
things that make who
What
you
things?
are. The aspects. So I can't.
What aspects?
Every aspect. It's
What?
whatever you think that makes.
Break
you,
it down.
Whatever you think.
What makes your identity?
Let me speak.
Go on. She's just saying who you are.
No,
but what?
it's not. The way I describe identity and what makes my identity is going to be different to what makes your identity, right? Obviously, there's certain things like in terms of ethnicity.
Yeah, so those are
religion.
the aspects that you're talking about.
Those
Yeah,
are
that's what I was asking.
the main generic ones, but there's certain things that made you as a person, and that identifies that's how you identify it. So, for example,
Wouldn't that be your personality though?
No, because personality is something that. So I could have a bubbly personality. She could have a timid personality. You could have a different personality, but your identity doesn't. A personality intertwines with your identity, but it's not who you identify with, right? So, for example, my identity would be that, you know, Muslim, right? So that's something that I identify with, and I think that, you know, obviously I'm from South Asian, I'm Bengali as well, so that's my identity as well. So there's certain things that has made me, and also I suffer anxiety, so that is part of my identity because that's who I am. So I think that's what I'm trying to hit, that there's certain things that make you a person and only you can identify that, if you know what I'm saying, guys. Amina, help me out.
Brain freeze. I'm joking. No, that makes perfect sense. We all have different things that make our identity.
Mm-hmm.
We're all different.
Yeah, it's just things that are
Yeah.
a big part of your life, I would say.
So we do have different types of identity.
Yeah, so I think we'd all say that our identity is that we're Muslim women, being a woman is part of your identity, your religion, your race.
Your ethnicity, so Pakistani.
Yeah, like your beliefs. I feel like everyone has a different identity depending on how they live their life.
So we have our Muslim identity, our cultural identity.
But I think for each person, all these small things about them makes their identity whole.
100%.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like
So we have one identity.
I'm not separately a Muslim and then I'm Pakistani. Like that's just like
that's
this
ridiculous.
is like I'm one person.
Yeah,
this
it's a
is
mesh of different aspects.
But then what happens when it all just kind of mixes together and doesn't really create?
It creates me.
Yeah.
It's getting so cheesy.
Right, so we have all these different... So we have one identity, but we have different branches that make this tree being identity.
Right, okay, yeah.
If you want to capture it that way, yeah.
Yes?
Yeah,
Agree.
it's a good analogy.
It's a good analogy.
Oh, thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
Fine, you said something positive to me, you know. I'm joking. Why do we have different types of identity?
Because we're all different individuals.
Do you want me to take it from?
Yes, please.
I think it's the reason why we put it in such high regard is because we need to feel like we belong somewhere and we have to. I think as humans we like to categorize everything.
I think so.
It's like, you know what, this is an apple and this is an orange. You know, like these are. Like this is the fruit
and
aisle.
I'm a banana.
This is
you're a pineapple.
This is the crisps aisle. You know what I mean? Like you need to
so
make.
it's like an organised manner.
You need to
of
make
saying,
sense of things.
Right.
I think it's just natural for us to do that. I mean, if we didn't have
But then how can we? Why do we mix it then?
mix what?
All our
I think
identities.
that's the beauty of it, because, you know, having different aspects of identity. So, you know, your cultural identity and your religious identity. So, you know, culture has certain traditions that make your cultural identity colourful, maybe.
But they
or
can't
food.
mix with our religious identity, though.
But
can
like,
they?
if we, in some aspects
they?
they can.
Well, it
because,
depends.
for example, halal food, right? Everyone knows what halal meat is, but everyone cooks it different ways. So that's right. So, for example, an Asian person will cook it different to an Arab person,
Oh, yeah.
but it's still halal. You see what I see? So they culture and the
But that's
tradition.
still religious.
No,
Because
because
it's
there's
halal.
But like the
no,
cooking
as in
part of it is cultural.
the seasoning part of it. So you will season
Do you
it with Asian spices.
But what has identity-wise?
I'm trying to explain that.
yeah.
So I'm saying, so
Not
everyone.
cooking-wise.
No, I'm talking about how religious identity and cultural identity they can mesh together. That's what your question
Yeah.
was. Because
Is that a good thing?
yeah, because it personalizes everyone else. So, you know, when you have diversity, that's what you need. You need different identities to come together. So religion, when you have, like, for example, religious something that's ordained religiously, it doesn't mean you have to have one straight path. Everyone's individuals and come from different demographics, and that's okay. And then the way they adopt it, it's individual to them. That's how Islam is made easy. So that's why I gave the cooking example, that in Asian culture we may season something one way, and in Arab culture they'll season it one way, but both are halal meat.
Yeah. But then we have negatives of where the cultural identity kind of can sometimes be superior to our religious identity.
Yeah,
which is,
that's when the issue comes, when we allow it to intertwine and we lose sight of, you know,
our religious identity.
yeah, religious identity. So things that
Do you
are
think
made
that's common?
For example, interracial marriage, a lot of cultural perspective would be like, do not marry outside your culture.
Yeah, but do you think it's common?
I think it's very common. I think it's very common because the thing is, the way I see and the way I understand, and it could be limited, is that, you know, when in our families that came from South Asian countries, religion and Islam was not separated. They were taught together. So a lot
You mean
of things-
religion and culture?
yeah, sorry, religion and culture. They were taught together, so they weren't able to separate them. Whereas here, whereas in this
You can
country,
distinguish it
you
quite
can distinguish
well.
in it because we have the third identity of being British. and being-
However, we still do have the communities that are deep rooted.
yeah, exactly. So that's what
in
I'm
this.
saying. That, you know, the generation before us, they've come along with their traditions and the understanding of religion because they were taught it in one way. Whereas us, we have a mesh of identities. So we have the Asian identity, we have the Muslim identity, we have the British identity. So some things about us that we're quite British, like talking about the weather all the time. You know, they're just
Oh no, just atting you.
Actually, I'm acting Pfizer. But I'm just saying that there's different identities and we're able to distinguish. And I think also the access to research and understanding and learning.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the resources we have is what they didn't have that at that time. So they only had very limited resources to learn about their religion. Whereas us, you know, we're able to learn about different opinions and views, etc., etc.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, slow down a little bit, though, because it's a good point what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
But do you think which identity of yours prevails most
My Muslim
among
identity.
others?
100% Muslim identity.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. Because I don't.
You're Muslim first before you are anything else.
100%.
Yeah, because I feel like with culture, I mean, we have our British and our Pakistani or Bengali culture. That is, you know, we enjoy like certain things, but then there's some things in these cultures that we can't do, and it's fine. Like, I'm not gonna delve into that.
So is it like a pick and choose thing? You pick and choose things from culture to make your identity.
I'd say
agree.
so.
But is that the only thing that you pick and choose? Do you
What do
pick and choose? No, as in, like, is that the only identity that you pick and choose from? Do you pick and choose from your religious identity? Do you pick and choose from your other identities?
I think the one thing that I don't pick and choose or try not to, I mean, I tried, and I think you should strive not to do, is your religious identity, because obviously Allah's guided us.
Yeah, of course.
Allah guided us for a reason, and He wants to protect us, or He wants the best for us, and so our understanding is very, very limited. Culture comes from human traditions, whereas religious, like
But then
religious.
how can we kind of stick to that religious identity and not kind of, you know,
There's
do
nothing
certain things in
wrong.
our culture that we shouldn't really be doing?
I think it's just
Yeah.
knowing what is allowed for us in Islam, and it's not like. I think the way we're breaking it down makes it seem like it's difficult, but it really isn't. Like, it's not like I'm thinking, okay, I'm British and these guys going to the pub. Am I allowed to do it? Like, it's just a given. Like, I'm not going to go.
But how,
you know?
But it can be difficult to kind of put, like, when it comes down to our culture and religion, especially with, you know, we have family who are so deep rooted in cultural traditions. Some of those traditions Islamically are not correct.
I think it just
How
comes
can
down to
we
your education.
kind of, you know, pull
and I think
away from that.
I think there's another thing as well, adding to that, is when you're trying to explain that this is actually not Islamic, it's your understanding of culture and you're just trying to portray it as Islamic. I think that's something that I personally feel is really frustrating, because you know that Islamically this is, for example,
It's not correct. Yeah.
it's not correct or is correct. For example, just give the easiest example is interracial marriage, right? That you know that's permissible, but why are you using culture?
But you won't allow it because
You
they're
won't
not
allow-
the same.
No, it's not the same, and you're picking part of religions to support your cultural view. That's not right.
That's so true. That's literally the one example that is, like, very common.
It's very common, and I think that you need to move away from that, because, you know,
Even
Islam
a
is
different
so
ethnicity
flexible.
as well.
Islam is so flexible, and if you're trying to, you know, I don't understand how people can say you should, you know, stay within your culture. Then there wouldn't be Asian Muslims, Arab Muslims. You know, there wouldn't be diversity, and you know, they say that, you know, you should marry someone similar. It's not just similar in terms of culture, it's similar in terms of understanding and education. Those, if you don't need to be from the same culture, but if you're both born and raised in the same way in the same country, then that's the similarity. It's not culture. There's no specifics in that. And I think that people need to kind of understand that, you know, the thing that matters the most is your character, is your closeness to Allah, and obviously there's practicality about financial and blah blah blah. But just to say that, you know, or it should be similar, which means it should be Bengali, it's completely wrong. And I think that people need to understand that Islam is a very beautiful religion, and it empowers and it allows us accommodates to us and allows us to spread Islam through marriages, right? So I think we need to be able to have those conversations and have those dialogues, and I think it's quite frustrating to dismantle that this is your cultural view, this is not religious view, and you need to be able to, and I think I think we owe it to them to kind of explain to them. But if they don't want to understand, then if we know in our hearts that we're not doing anything Islamically wrong, all we could do is pray for their guidance, to be honest.
Do you ever find it hard to kind of like identify yourself with one particular identity?
Personally, I wouldn't say so.
Have you ever had any difficulties? Let's say, for example, religious identity. Especially being a hijabi.
What do you mean by struggling with it? Like not
so
knowing?
like we are very like publicly, openly,
Visibly.
visibly, basically. Do you ever find it difficult?
Oh, so do you mean to be
being
like
a visible like Muslim?
Well, I feel like where we live in Luton, there's a lot of Muslims, so it makes us comfortable in our the way we dress, like in our hijab and just the way I carry myself. So for me, I don't think I've struggled with it, which is like I feel like it's I don't even know the word anymore. I'm like losing words out of my brain, but it's like it's a privilege to not struggle with that in this country, like,
because there are people who do, you know, they do struggle with, you know, getting Muslim identity kind of.
And I think so. I know people that have struggled with it, like at certain schools, for example, if they're the only Muslim girl there. I think when you wear a hijab, you're a lot more different to the people around you. Like I wouldn't be able to speak about the struggles for a boy, because I don't know, to me, the way I look at it, like they could, growing up as a teenager, they would look like their peers if there's not many you know, Muslim boys there. But for girls, I feel like it's a lot more, because you put the hijab on, like if you choose to, and you look a lot more different. I feel like it's a bit more, you have to for some reason explain yourself more to people. Like because
you
I
get
have
a lot of
family
questions
that I've had to
like, why are you
struggle
wearing
with
it?
it. It's just something
how
that
do you feel, and like it's
and I think even I've said I haven't really struggled with it, but even just walking around in public, I think I maybe didn't notice because I've had to deal with it ever since I put it on, but you just feel this tiny bit of pressure to be a certain way, because you don't want people to think you are a bad person, or you overcompensate, like if there's, you know, someone I don't know at the shops giving you dirty looks, so you start being extra polite so they don't think that you're some like raging Muslim. Do you know what I mean? I think I think we all struggle with that in like different scales, I guess.
Who or what influences your different types of identity? Religious is definitely, like, we know the answer. What about our cultural identity, our work identity?
I think family and your
family
environment,
and our friends as well.
And friends,
No,
people,
but the way
people
we are
around you as well, and also what you feed yourself with as well.
So do you change who you are when you're with your friends and when you're with your family and when you're at work?
Yeah, I think
you have to. There is some sort of performance that you have to do.
Performance.
Yeah, it is a performance, because you know when you're at work, you have to put your professional face on, and you need to behave in a certain way, and you need to sometimes.
It's a more professional manner.
I
guess it depends on your workplace.
I sometimes do feel like maybe naturally we do overcompensate. So, you know, you might feel like you're the only visible Muslim in this, you know, amongst your co-workers, and so you try. It's just naturally because
you're trying to be pleasant as much as you can.
You try to make a
because you don't know who
impression.
has like a stereotype in their head.
Of course.
And that's what I think. That's what maybe gets to us in certain environments. I think that
it's that fear as well. I think like even the thing that where I face the sort of feeling that okay, I'm very visibly Muslim is when I use trains and I see people looking at me, and I'm just like, okay. Like, for example, I experienced it once. I was on the train and there was an empty seat, and this child she just ran up to me and sat next to me, and then her parent didn't look and she was okay with it, but when she looked at me, she dragged her child off the seat, and I was like, wow, okay, then what was that about?
Aww.
And that really disheartened me, because I smiled at her and I was just being nice to her, like she was sitting next to me, but it just made me feel, just because, you know, it could not be her fault. Maybe she's, you know, trying to, because obviously Muslims get quite bad media, like people look at them.
They're portrayed negatively.
Yeah, they're portrayed very negatively. it's kind of the unknown again, because we don't know why is she wearing this, and any news related to Muslims is almost always negative, and the positive is not really brought into the light. So in that sense, I think it's like really, it's kind of, you have to kind of stick through it. I think putting that smile on, and even though you don't feel it because you just feel that they look at you so negatively, and then you just feel really bad about yourself. But you just have to think, end of the day, how they treat you and how they perceive you is not you. So separate that feeling.
Yeah.
And I think it's, we're getting reward for that struggle. I think we need to remind ourselves that.
I think definitely what you're saying helps with those who are struggling with
you're getting reward.
Their Muslim identity as well.
So I was watching a video actually recently, and it caught my eye because it said take off the hijab. So I was like, what? Why is the sheikh saying that, right? So I don't know how, I think he just thought that would capture people. So I watched it and I was like, so he was trying to have people say, so it didn't have inverted commas, that's what I think they forgot to put. Yeah, I think it should have, I think they forgot to have the inverted commas, take off your hijab, because a lot of people talk about that. So he was saying that, it's really wrong for people to say, take off your hijab, you're not doing all the other I think me and Faiza were discussing it. You're not putting your hijab on properly, you're not behaving properly, etc., etc. But the sheikh was saying that, wearing the hijab is one good deed, and if you can, and Allah loves those who are consistent. And if you try to wear your hijab and you're doing it for the sake of Allah, that's one good deed. If you take that off, you're removing one good deed. So how do people undermine someone or try to pull them away from doing one good deed? Who's more responsible of creating more damage? How can you pull it? I just don't understand how people can discourage people to take the hijab off just because their perception of what is correct is not fitting. But Allah says that if you're trying and they're sincere, then that's what all it matters. And at the end of the day, Allah's not going to look at every single deed. He's going to weigh it up in the Day of Judgment. I've said this before. He's going to weigh the sincerity. So you might be, saying to someone, oh, you're not wearing the hijab properly, etc., etc., but you're just gaining bad deeds, and she's trying sincerely, and she's having that relationship, and you hurt her. How are you going to answer that to Allah?
Yeah, that's so true.
So I think that people need to be more conscious of how they talk to
because
one another.
that can literally discourage someone completely.
Yeah, and you'll be responsible for it. Not it won't be her. It'll be you discourage someone from doing a good deed because you made her feel. You almost bullied her into taking it off.
Yeah. So anyone who is struggling with, I feel like we all struggle,
100%.
Especially when it comes to our Muslim identity. Like, you'll go through ups and downs. There'll be fluctuations as well. But you just have to keep it kind of consistent. Just keep going with it and just stay strong with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing I read somewhere, I don't know what it was, but someone was saying that one thing about growth is that it's not linear. It's like taking 2 steps forward and one step back.
Yeah.
It's still one step forward. Like, we all have that with anything that we're dealing with.
So
with
true.
our faith, like we see dips in our iman throughout the year all the time, and I think for some people it's because we're talking about hijab. I'm going to talk about use that as an example. Is like, we shouldn't be discouraged if we went from being able to read Quran every day and then to not being very inconsistent with it and feeling upset or disappointed with yourself. That's just an example. It could be anything that you're trying to do. I mean, don't be discouraged. You still had the fact that you were reading the Quran every day gave you that love for it.
Yeah.
So if you're wearing the hijab every day, you're getting used to it, you're growing to love it. And maybe if you are, struggling with it at some point and you think, why am I struggling with it? This must be a bad thing. But you still took 2 steps forward, and that you're still in the right direction. I mean, we're going to struggle with anything.
Yeah, of course.
I find that, I think we'll all agree that when you're like going on a journey for something, like with your education, with your faith, with anything, I mean, even with small things like cooking, I mean, you make mistakes along the way, but it happens in the end.
Yeah, of
like
course.
You're still going to get there. We shouldn't I think it's really wrong for people to discourage you from doing something that you're trying so hard on when they have no idea what
you're going through.
Yeah,
as
what
well.
you're going through, or even what it took for you to even put it on. For some people, it's so hard to put it on for so many different reasons. I mean, we're living in this country for some. Maybe if you're a young girl and you go to a predominantly non-Muslim school, it's really difficult to put that on because
Yeah.
like there's all these girls around you and they're like, you know, when you're a teenager you want to look nice and there's all these cute hairstyles you can do. You'd think, oh my god, I'm missing out on that. It's so brave for young girls to put on the hijab, especially when they're surrounded by all these other things that are fun.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be more encouraging than discouraging when we have sometimes it happens and they don't even know who this person is. I mean, that's just wrong.
What other influences do you think we have in our identities? Like, what influences our identity?
I think just personal experience sometimes. I think we like it could be your friends, but at the same time it's things that you've gone through on your own journey,
and it kind of makes you who you are.
Yeah, it makes you who you are. It makes you talk the way that you do, or it makes you it gives you, like, you know, you talk to other people
It
in
makes
a certain
like
way.
you who you are, kind of
Yeah,
brings that like edge to you.
yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Like your
Have you
own-
ever had an identity crisis?
I think when I was a teenager, I was sort of figuring out
Who you want to be?
just kind of like getting to grips. I think even
Like, where do you fit in?
where do I fit in, and also, you know, why is everything, like how you said, everything's just bombarded at you, and everything's a mesh of different
Life
cultures.
comes at you quite fast.
Yeah, especially when you're going through, once you're a
Like
child to
religious,
puberty,
cultural.
everything.
your
So much
own-
responsibility, so
yeah.
much, like, you're identified as a Muslim, and everyone knows it.
Yeah.
And then it's just, I think it's quite difficult at that time, but once you go through it, it's just like, okay.
So again, I feel like it's the whole going through one thing at a time and just breaking it down. Look overall. I feel like you end up finding your place one way or the other. It will take time, but you'll get there.
Yeah,
And-
you just have to live through
Yeah.
it and know that you will
And
get
you'll
there in
have
the
many
end.
different identities all throughout life.
Yeah, and they're all a part of you.
Yeah.
Embrace them.
It makes you who you are. Like, you are Mariam and you are Amina, you know? Like, it's your cultural, religious, your friends, whether it, when, you know, when you're at work, like, all these different things, they make you who you are. And yeah, basically coming to the end now. So thank you so much for listening. Please do join us next week, inshallah. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Why not tune in to our live stream at inspirefm.org and follow and subscribe to our social media platforms at Inspire FM Luton.